And now, ladies and gentlemen of the old world, we're back in business once again with a community showdown between the Vampire Coast, who shall be led by King of the Dead. And today, my friends, he faces off against the Greenskins, who shall be led by Grom the Paunch, and I have a feeling it's probably a Chinese player, as I cannot see the name. Now, as far as the build goes of King, it is going to be on the Spirit Essence of Chaos, which I believe is actually still in the pool of multiplayer quick battles. That's probably why they encountered it. But something to note, this is actually one of the smallest maps in the entire game. You start pretty much right in front of your opponent. You know, for example, if you have like a crossbow unit, they're immediately going to be able to start shooting your opponent's army. And, you know, it does actually play a pretty big part in terms of leadership, especially if like a faction like the Greenskins, for example, were on the defensive. It'd be very easy for their units to be routed off the back of the map. So that's why you don't see these ones too often in tournaments, because for some factions, it does provide a pretty substantial disadvantage. But since the Vampire Coast is the one on the defense here, the Greenskins are going to be pushing. It leaves ample room for their units to rally before the edge of the map, so it really shouldn't be too much of an issue. But frontline for King, it's going to be deckhand mobs, bombers in the second. King of the Dead certainly using the bombers before they were cool, and I remember I used to make fun of them for using these bad boys, but they're actually pretty darn effective these days, especially after the buff to the explosion damage they have. They can, of course, do massive damage against the goblins, and, you know, not so much against like things like Black Orcs, but you don't really see Black Orcs brought in this matchup, so for the most part, they're pretty good against most of the Greenskin roster. Shade Wraith Gunners in the back for some long-ranged Daka. Looks like they're shooting into Grom the Paunch, his mighty thickness here, and I don't believe they do fire damage. No, it's just magic damage, but yeah, Grom should be able to regenerate through that. And as far as the artillery goes, it's going to be mortars. One of the more common answers against the Vampire Coast threat is spamming mortars, or spamming archers, excuse me, and the counter to them is mortars. So basically the mortars here are the rock, paper, scissors against the Orc Air Boys. In the back, we have Lamprey's Revenge. We also have Count Noctiluss on foot. No scratching post for him today. And now for the forces of the Greenskins, it's going to be goblins. It's going to be night goblins, goblins with a couple Orc Boys mixed in. Trolls also, which is interesting. You wouldn't think trolls would be super good, right? Because Vampire Coast has a ton of like powder and ways to shoot them, but they're actually pretty good against like, I don't know how they fare against Morngulls, but against like crabs like Rotting Leviathan or Prometheans, these bad boys actually pack some serious punch for the cost as long as you can keep them there. And that's why the Giant is here also. God, there was a gentleman, he played in my faction where I forget, I believe his name was Han, Chosen of Norns, and he's really, really solid. And he brought the double Rotting Leviathan against the Empire, and it was really actually surprisingly tough to take down, just the threat saturation of that. So I think the Giant is kind of a tech piece against that. So we do have Rusty Arrows in the back here. We have Warlords Boys, a couple archers back here, some trolls on the flanks, and that appears to be it, with the exception of some Spider Riders, which I would imagine he's going to be using to stop King of the Dead's classic Hound attack. Now, the battle will rapidly be underway. You guys are certainly going to see if the bombers are effective or not. Mortars are shooting, Shade Wraith Gunners are shooting, and I'm actually looking in the next couple weeks to start getting into playing some battles myself again. I tried playing a couple against AI, and I'm just so slow. My hand just doesn't have the motor skills back yet to be able to really compete, but it's getting there. It's getting better every week. So anyways, Hounds in the back here going in, and what I was basically going to say is I think I'll just play Vampire Coast because you could just sit here and throw bombs and shoot and stuff. Anyways, the bombers here getting some nasty volleys against the goblins. Those little goblins getting shreked in the swamp pretty bad, and yeah, that's what bombers are designed to do. Great stuff for sure. Perhaps the Greenskins should have waited on the advance, maybe use some archers to soften them up, but it's kind of a tricky thing. They can't really afford to wait because of the mortars in the back and some of the other assets that can really punish the archers if they decide to stay back, right? So here we have an ambush in the back, some Night Goblins coming in. Noctiluss is here as well. Night Goblins probably normally would beat deckhand mobs, but if Big Knock is back here, the Hard Knock Life, he's going to be able to do his somersaults and backflips and help win that fight. Now, a little bit of hound pressure going on, but it looks like the Greenskin player are doing a very good job wrangling them. King has one group of hounds caught by Spider Riders. Trolls are also able to get them. And it looks like King might actually end up losing 2 hounds. I'm not really sure. Maybe he wanted to alpha strike those Spider Riders and try and break them so then he could have complete freedom, but in this case, 2 of the hounds probably going to go down. He should be able to salvage the 3rd one. Now, as far as the frontline fighting goes, it's pretty even for the most part. I mean, the goblins, of course, are being blasted by the bombers in the front, but the Greenskin archers, in turn, are also being blasted by the mortars and the Shade Wraith Gunners. So there's a little bit of back and forth here in this situation. Now, Grom the Paunch is here. Lucky Banner pops. Going to make him pretty darn tanky with that 40% ward save. He's getting into the bomber lines, trying to cause some disruption as well, and Count Noctiluss and company were able to hold back these Night Goblins, but eventually they may get back here and might be able to shut down those mortars. It's certainly going to be very interesting to see, my friends. Now, as far as the doggos go, one group of doggos here just fighting to the bitter end. Loyal hounds they are, and the other scurvy dogs were able to escape and should be able to make sure that the archers here of the Greenskins don't come back online, which is a very, very good play. Now, there's still a big old fat giant here. As far as anti-large goes, Shade Wraith Gunners, have some poke against big targets. There's also halberds, but really there's not a whole lot that's great against a giant. Noctiluss, of course, is an anti-large halberd character, and I don't know where he disappeared to. Oh, he's right here. But probably the best tool for King, what I was about to say, is summoning zombie part gunnery mobs using their pistols to try and wear down the giant, because aside from that, it doesn't seem to be too much to do that. Now, frontline engagements, the Greenskins have gotten through. They've gotten into the metaphorical cookie jar here in the back line. The Warlords Boys, as well as some other Night Goblin RWRs, the AP Galoonies have gotten back here, and the Shade Wraith Gunners are going to be hunted, and as soon as you have to start running with those guys, it's certainly not good. Now the other goblins of the Greenskins are going to be getting onto the mortars here, and yeah, the mortar is going to be in some serious trouble. Goblins will shank those guys down very quickly. So that is a huge grab for the Greenskins, especially considering that these Night Goblins here are unbreakable because they are the Arwars. Shade Wraith Gunners are holding okay. King has been able to get some Crabos over there. The Crabos certainly doing some stabos. Lamprey's Revenge holding back the Warlord's boys who are not unbreakable, but the Trolls are still very healthy. Yeah, look at this. We got Trolls coming in. Trolls will certainly take these Crabs to Pound Town in an open field situation. So what needs to happen here for the Greenskins? Trolls need to definitely push back here, deal with the Crabs, deal with the Shade Wraith Gunners. But for King of the Dead, man, he's really got to focus down this Giant, because if he runs out of powdered assets and that Giant is still around, that Giant will certainly take Noctilus to town, especially with the help of Grom the Paunch. So certainly a very, very close game at this point. Greenskins have a couple units rallying at the back. Archers coming back here and there. And for the Vampire Coast, it looks like the mortars offline here. It's mainly the Crab, Noctilus, Shade Wraith Gunners, and mortars. But again, the Greenskins, like most of the stuff you see, is fairly low leadership, with the exception of the Giant, of course. Most of the stuff is Goblin-based, and, you know, a couple bad engagements, rear charges, a little bit of fear, perhaps some Shade Wraith Gunner fire is going to be able to break them pretty efficiently. You can see here these Trolls actually get caught up on some Halberds and get focused down by the Shade Wraith Gunners, but now Big Chungus himself, the Giant, going to be making his way back here, going to be hunting down the Shade Wraith Gunners, and certainly is a good play here. So here he comes. Oh yeah, it's blobbering time. Only really kills one of the Shade Wraith Gunners. Of course, they are ethereal units, so they do have that really nice physical resist, but, you know, it's really good. I think this is the right play here from the Greenskins, needing to shut down the Shade Wraith Gunners, but also, if Noctilus isn't dealt with, he's going to be able to shank down this Giant over time, and the pistol summons have been really, really efficient here. Also, Lamprey's Avenger, kind of a raid boss unit. And I suppose, yeah, it's a tricky one, right? Because do the Greenskins get the Giant and go kill the Crabs, which it'll be very good at, but if they do that, they're going to be taking unimpeded fire from the Shade Wraith Gunners the entire time, but in the Giant fighting over here against the Crabs, it's also hiding from Noctilus's poke and his melee. But yeah, man, the summoning of these zombie pyrochrony mobs is just so clutch here in this situation. And, you know, believe it or not, like, the battle looks like it's probably going bad for Vampire Coast, but it's actually not. Noctilus is healthy, the Crabs still have 8 models and plenty of healing cap. It seems that there's still summons in the back pocket, and the Shade Wraith Gunners somehow, someway are still shooting. I don't know if the Greenskins have any mobility to shut it down. Looks like some goblins here in the back. These Spider Riders could have been pretty big. 27 of them could be flanking about, so a little bit of a misplay there, but for the most part, it's not the end of the world, or perhaps it is. Zombie pirate halberds fighting. Crabs getting a fat old invocation, which is just such value, because the only things that can really hurt the Crab is the Giant and the Trolls, all of which are being focused down by King. Just really shows the tournament savvy. You realize you have one thing that can defeat your opponent, you kill the answers that can... It's just like if you're playing 40k, for example, right? You're playing a mech-heavy army with a lot of vehicles, you kill the anti-tank, you're going to be in relatively good shape, right? Granted, 40k has changed quite a bit. Now it's a very objective-based game, so you have to take out troops as well. But the battle rages on, and Count Noctilus and company able to secure this position. You can see the Night Goblins and company are breaking. Grom the Paunch is running for the hills, and I don't know if the Paunch is going to be able to rally his forces, but... you know, they still do have a fair amount of archers. Maybe if they could wait out the summons, pull apart the Vampire Coast, he can get back into this game. And here are the Trolls in the back getting a really, really good engagement here. So Shade Wraith Gunners getting pounded pretty hard by the Trolls, and the Trolls apparently don't care too much for the ethereal status of these units. I just hear some Palpatine shriek from the Crab. In my ears they come in. Like I said, I don't normally cast with headphones. I mean, the past couple weeks I have, but I'm still getting used to it. So the Trolls here, probably going to get broken off by the Crabs. I mean, the Crabs do cause fear, they're very tanky, they regenerate, they're a far more elite unit. And the Trolls are going to be running, but not before they do some good damage, but King does respond with an invocation on the juicy Shade Wraith Gunners, which is definitely a very, very good choice. These guys are one of the things that can punish the Archers. Like, without the Shade Wraith Gunners here, the Archers would be able to encircle them, you know, pull them in different directions, and the Greenskins still have 3 Archer units with ample ammunition. Not ample, but enough to be functional at this point in the game. And there are Orc Airboys too, I think. Yeah, Orc Airboys, all of which have pretty good AP values, yeah. Shade Wraith Gunner is definitely a big priority target to take down here. King still has some halberds here, but not for long. I don't know where the Hard Knock Life went. No way he died. Did I just, like, miss Count Noctilus getting wrecked? There's no freaking way. He's around here somewhere. Perhaps he did. I mean, maybe Grom the Paunch got him. No, he's over here fighting these Night Goblins. Okay, he's a pretty small target on foot there. Easy to miss his banner, but there you have it. And the Grom the Paunch fleeing back, healing, potentially back up to half HP. The Archers are shooting in, getting a little bit of Daka here into the Shade Wraith Gunners. But man, the leadership discouraging effect on the Shade Wraith Gunners is so good, and man, what a scrap this has been between these two players. I really actually thought, because like I said, when I cast games, I don't watch the full games. I watch like the first couple minutes, first 5 minutes, to make sure it's, you know, a relatively back and forth game. And then from there, you know, I decide if I'm going to cast it or not, but I don't like to spoil the end for myself. But this has been just such a absolute back and forth game. I really thought the Greenskins, despite, you know, the bounce of power appearances, like, were swarming all over this army, getting good backline engagements, compromising the mortar, but yeah, you know, the Vampire Coast was able to hold and really just be resilient. And the biggest thing that I think King did was being able to defend these Shade Wraith Gunners. But I don't know, Trolls are healing, Grom the Paunch is healing. Is there going to be a way for the Greenskins to get back in this game? I mean, certainly possible. Warlord's boys are piling in. They are not unbreakable, but I would definitely push them past and try and do whatever damage I could to the Shade Wraith Gunners, because they're just devastating this Greenskin line. Goblins broken, archers are breaking. Unfortunately, that's a huge loss for the Greenskins. The fact that those trolls broke off is disastrous. And yeah, the Krabos are kind of preventing, you know, big old Grom from getting in there and causing some disruption as well. So that's also a pretty substantial problem. Yeah, here comes the Shade Wraith Gunners. Trying to turn around, but the Goblins are piling their way in at 93 models, but the Krabos are designed to just basically womp over things like this. Man, those Shade Wraith Gunners just MVPs. It's crazy, they only have like 9 kills or something, but a lot of the damage they do is kind of like HP damage and of course the discouraging effect as well. At this point, I don't think the Greenskins have enough. We'll do a little bit of fast forwarding just to kind of see. Some Spider Riders got to be coming around the back, but the Krabos are certainly doing a great job defending. Ammunition is now out. So Grom's got to come in for a final stand, and Grom is very good against foot characters like Noctilus, but I don't think he's going to have the stopping power to deal with Noctilus. I mean, the Hard Knock Life is at full health. Grom is pretty beat up at this point. Although, I mean, in a vacuum, I think Grom, even at this health with his items, might be able to beat Noctilus. If he had the Axe of Grom and the Lucky Banner active, he might be able to catch up and really, you know, tighten that lead, I guess you could say. So Orc Airboys pushing in. You can see the Crabs are actually going down, believe it or not. I have no idea how that happened. Some Spider Riders coming in the back. Could this be a wild comeback here? Oh my god, that would just be absolute insanity. Shade Wraith Gunners are taking quite a hammering here. If the Forest Goblin Spider Riders hold and the Crabs crumble, I mean, and then Grom cycle charges Count Noctilus? Maybe? Just maybe. No, but the Shade Wraith Gunners survive that. That's pretty bad. For the Greenskins, of course. They do cause fear in their ethereal bodies, which are very tough to break, and you can see it looks like Noctilus does get an anti-large attack there on Grom. He's able to break him, so well played to King and his opponent from the Greenskins. I wish I knew your name, brother, because you put up a great fight and had a really cool build. I thought his build was good. The giant tech is cool, because like I have seen a lot of cosplayers in recent times forsake powder builds and go with like crab spam. Go with like 2 Rotting Leviathans with like Luther, and it's just like healing, and it's just like, Anakin, too much healing, too much armor. So the giant is a really good hard counter against the big Krabos, but King didn't bring it. You know, he brought a more King of the Dead style build, because, you know, a lot of people like to use handguns. You see bombers sparsely used. I mean, bombers are used for sure, but yeah, the build was really cool. I really enjoyed watching that one. It was a back and forth game, and I really had no idea how it would go. So well played to King. Thank you for sending in the replay. Well played to his mighty Greenskin opponent. And until next time, hopefully you guys enjoyed this spooky matchup, and we'll see you guys on the other side.